Welcome, everyone. Please make sure to put your name and company name in the chat. We are preparing to stream on Facebook and YouTube, so bear with us. We are going to make sure everyone is muted before we get started. I'm going to have to try to go live again. We're having some technical difficulties. Bear with us. You're going to see another pop on your screen if it goes live on YouTube, so bear with us. Rudy and Brian, are you having difficulties on your end?
We're live on both. You're live on YouTube and on Facebook.
Okay. Well, this is saying that I'm been set up. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started then. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Again, make sure that you are putting your name and company information in the chat. We would appreciate it. We have a couple more folks joining, including PBC and our CPS team. We are here today for the Sauganash School Annex 2 and Renovations Project, contract number 1601. We will have the pre-bid and technical review meeting today. We will have the technical review directly after the pre-bid meeting. We have an agenda today. We're going to do introductions. We're going to talk about the eligible bidders. We're going to go over some procurement and compliance details. We'll have a technical review where we have our architect of record partners. And then if necessary, we will have a breakout session. So I want to introduce the PBC team. My name is Lori Lipson with the PBC, and I'm going to turn it over to our contract officer, Patty.
Good morning, Patricia Montenegro, PBC Procurement.
Okay, Ray.
Ray Gooderoff, PBC. Thank you, Lori.
Okay. Cal.
Cal Lejeune, Deputy Director of Planning and Design, PBC.
Okay, Jeff.
Jeff Stroud, Senior Project Manager, PBC.
Okay, Karina.
Good morning, everybody. Karina Sanchez, Executive Director, PBC. Thanks, Lori.
You're welcome. Lisa, then Patrice.
Good morning, Lisa Gooderoff, Director of Program Controls, PBC.
Good morning, Patrice Dole, Director of Compliance, PBC.
Okay, and Kim Smith.
Good morning, Kim Smith, Compliance, PBC.
And we have our technical folks that are helping me stream by Bryant Payne and Rudy Manning. You'll see. And let's introduce our dynamic CPS team. I'll turn it to Brian and then Jessica. I'm Brian Zader from CPS.
Yep, Brian Zader from CPS. Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Hey, good morning. This is Jessica. I'll be the board rep for this project.
Perfect. Thank you. We have our AOR team from RADA, and I'm going to let Cal introduce the entire team when we get to the technical review. I do want to take a moment to do a little roll call for our pre-qualified general contractor. So when I call your name, please let us know if you are in the Zoom room. Albright Construction, Barton Milo, Berglund, Blenderman, Burling. I know there's somebody from Burling on the line.
Yes.
Okay, your name, please.
Raj Shah.
Okay, thank you, Raj. Clark Construction, Development Solutions, Passion, Friedler, Henry Brothers, Hunt Construction, McHugh Construction, KR Miller.
Hi, Lori. It's Andy Eichhorn.
Hi, Andy. Madison Construction, Old Vet, Path, Powers and Son, Solid, I know there's a person from Solid that was on the line. Okay, Turner, Tyler Lane. I know there's someone from Tyler Lane. Okay, we'll go back to them. Ujama, Vanner, W.E. O'Neill, and Walsh. Okay. We have a couple of subcontractors as well. Ray's Group, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, my name is Brendan Minot with the Raise Group. We do site utility, demo, underground, water main storm, foundations, a whole slew of things.
Perfect. I believe there's someone here from All Construction. Okay, Empire Construction.
Hi, this is Matt Gierman. We are a small general contractor as well as a selective demolition contractor and carpenter.
Did I miss any subcontractors on the line? Okay. I'm gonna actually turn it over to Patty to do project overview.
Good morning once again. The project is located at 6040 North Kilpatrick Avenue, and the summary of the general scope of work is site utility services relocation, underground storage tank removal, the new approximately 42,900 square foot annex facility with supporting spaces, the demolition of the existing 1954 gym, and selective renovations to the building interior and roof with associated site development. The time of completion is as listed in Book 1. The milestone number 1 is the milestone date is January 2nd with a start no sooner than December 18th, 2021 date. The development team will go into further detail regarding the time of completion in the technical aspect of the presentation, but we'll identify the milestones now with milestone number 2, August 5th, 2022, and substantial completion of November 30th, 2022, again, identifying no sooner than dates on that phasing plan. The liquidated damages are 25,000 or 2,500 per day for each scheduled milestone and substantial completion date not achieved. The availability of the documents are on the Crossroads Print and Technologies Plan Room. The printer contact information is as located here on the screen. The contact name is Christy Weber, telephone number as listed there. If anybody has any questions downloading the documents or unable to reach Christy, please send me an email. The assist agencies also have access to the documents and are able to assist you with viewing or downloading. The tech review is immediately following this pre-bid at 11:30, and there is no scheduled site visit, but notwithstanding, bidders are advised that the school, access to the school is restricted, and failure for bidders to become familiar with the project shall not relieve or alter the bidder's responsibility for completing the work. Requests for information. I've received a number of RFIs to date on the project. Please ensure that you submit them to my attention. We are currently working on an addendum expected to be issued soon. And we want all questions in by October 19th, please, by 4:30 p.m. Please make sure that you identify the project name in the subject line or somewhere in the body of the email. The bids are due October 28th as of right now. If they were to change, they are, it is going to be changed in the addendum. So please make sure that you are visiting our website periodically to know what the addendums are. And our project, this project is located on the current opportunities page as listed in the virtual meeting details listed below. We will be sending the pre-qualified bidders the notice of the addendum, as well as it is advertised via our PBC alert. So if you haven't subscribed to PBC alerts, please ensure that you are subscribed to PBC alerts for the most recent information regarding this project.
We will also be live streaming the bid opening. We suggest, because of recent issues with Facebook, that if you are trying to review the bid opening, to check YouTube is more reliable than our Facebook, but we will be streaming live for both of those.
So bid submission requirements, we are encouraging bidders to submit electronically. So one complete copy of the bid document, original signatures or digital signature. Please ensure that you include the bid bond and the award criteria sheet, and that you email it to both emails listed in the contract documents and as listed on the screen. If submitting hard copy, we also welcome that, but please ensure that you provide 2 single-sided copies in a sealed envelope with original signatures. Please make sure that you're including your bid bond and that you mail it or hand deliver to the PBC offices. We will be open that day, beginning at 9:30, and so there's only that time frame that we will be available to receive hard copies. The pre-award meeting is tentatively scheduled for November 1st at 11:30, but we will make sure that we coordinate with the apparent low bidder as to when that date has been confirmed. And then we anticipate awarding at the November 2021 PBC Board of Commissioners meeting.
Mhm. Just a couple of highlights from book 1 and book 2. As you have read over our IFB documents, the construction budget is $23 million. You want to make sure that you review, as you're putting your bid together, the project staffing, which includes separate project manager and superintendent. Review the scheduling software. Patty went over liquidated damages earlier. And please remember that this is subject to the CPS PLA agreement. A little different than our previous bids. You want to make sure that you look at the critical subcontractors. Those who do not fill it out, their bid will be deemed non-responsive unless we change that via addendum. The critical subcontractors at the time of bid are listed on the screen, which includes the wrecking, demolition, storm, water, detention tank, excavator, the caissons, elevator, steel fabricator, and steel erector. Please note if you have questions during the pre-bid, make sure you do so. You can put questions in the chat as we move forward, or we'll open it up to Q&A at the end. This is our Schedule B, which is for our joint venture partners. If you are, we have a couple of contractors that I'm sure would be happy to joint venture with some of our eligible bidders. For this project, you're going to fill out Form B and you're going to provide the joint venture agreement. If your joint venture partner is an MBE or WBE, you want to make sure that you please have their certification letter as part of the packet. You also wanted to note the percentage. I know we have one question in the addendum regarding joint venture agreements. Typically, when we look at compliance and credit, we want to make sure that the joint venture partner is contributing and has a commercially useful function. So we will be looking at that carefully as well. Again, we have award criteria. The maximum is 70% for minority journey workers, laborers, and apprentice, and 15% respectively for female journey workers, laborers, and apprentice. For this project, we also have community hiring and 50% city residency. As you can see from the map, we have a couple community areas that we are gleaming from for this project. There are actually 8 projects. Is that 8? Yes. 2, 4, 6, 8 community areas that we will be pulling from that would be considered community hires. A couple things, because I'm prayerful that most of you will submit your bids electronically. It's actually easier for our team to do so, and hopefully you'll do that. Not right before 11, maybe like 10:55, that would be helpful. So we can open up the PDFs and make sure we see your bond information as well. But you want to make sure that you fill out the base work and the math is correct. When you do it electronically, your math is automatically calculated correctly. If you're doing it by hand, typically there are errors. So you want to make sure that you fill in the base work and it will calculate to your total base bid, which is line 7. But again, you'll have your award criteria that you're going to fill in. You're going to make sure, again, if you're filling out electronically, the math will be automatic. If you are doing it by hand, make sure your periods are in the correct space. We are really emphasizing, please make sure that you are confident in what you're putting in your award criteria. I want to remind everyone, this is voluntary. We are not making you put any award criteria here. We want to make sure that it makes sense. So please make sure that you're filling in for all categories. For minority apprentice and labor, same thing with female apprentice and labor. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you talk to your subcontractors as you're getting those things filled out to make sure it makes sense, and make sure that your firm can stand by what you put in your award criteria, again, because this is voluntary, and we will go over that again at the pre-award, and you will not have a chance to change it. So make sure that it makes sense for you and your company. For this project, please make sure that you are reading the MBE and WBE. The MBE for this project is 24. The WBE is 8%. We only accept certification for City of Chicago and Cook County. So make sure that you are not including other certifications because we will not count them as credit. A couple of firms made a couple of errors previously. You want to make sure if you have suppliers that is only 60%. If you have established businesses, which you will see on their letter, you will see how much they get credit for each year. Make sure you fill that out accordingly. In addition to that, you're going to fill out your Schedule D, which has all your MWBE firms. Again, you're going to make sure you have 24 and 8% is your minimum, not your max. You're going to follow that up with your Schedule Cs, and make sure this part that is highlighted in the green under subcontractors has the dollar amount and percentage if they are subbed out. This really comes into play, especially with our HVAC and sometimes our electrical. Maybe there's a low voltage subcontractor, so make sure you fill that out accordingly. As a reminder, please do not reach out to any of our CPS or PBC reps. Patty is the sole point of contact for this project. If you continue to reach out to others who are not the sole point of contact for this, your bid may be deemed ineligible. So please make sure you contact Patty. And at this point, I'm going to stop, turn it over for our technical review. But in the meantime, if you have questions as we transition over, please put them in the chat or turn on your information for Mike. I know we had Fred Arnold from Solid that wrote in the chat that he was unable to use his microphone. And I think it was Javier and another gentleman that was listed for Tyler Lane. Garcia and Phillip for Tyler Lane. If there are any other eligible contractors, please let us know. And whoever's sharing, go to view and do full screen. That would be helpful at the top of the Adobe document, so it's easier for our team to read. I'm just going to read while they're doing that. I'm going to make sure there's no questions or direct messages to me. Path Construction is also here, having issues with a microphone. We have Joe. Okay, and I'm just going to remind the person who is sharing to go to view so we can see their full screen. Full screen mode. There you go. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Cal.
Great. All right. Thank you, Laurie. You know, actually, sometimes I don't share the full screen because it doesn't allow me to look at my notes in this little small laptop. So I'm going to try and unfortunately keep it this way, and then we can work through the rest. So Cal Lejeune, Deputy Director of Planning and Design. We've been working on this project for the last few.
I know you can't see your notes, but it's hard because we're streaming. So can you please go to the other part? If you need to go back, we can do so. We're streaming, so when you have half of a screen, it's difficult for folks to see.
Is this visible?
It's very hard to see.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a challenge because I only have one screen. So, okay, we'll try and figure something out. I'll have to use my phone in the interim because I think my notes are there. So as mentioned, we've been working on this project for a few months. It's been very exciting knowing that this neighborhood is part of the Sauganash Historic District. It incorporates the existing school building that has been there for a while, since 1929. The site itself, which is the entire campus of the school, has gone through quite a bit of work since 1929, actually. Just shortly after, in 1954, to the existing small building, there was an addition done to the north end of it. If you see down here, this is the proposed scope, but just north of that, they added 2 bays to the existing school, as well as a new gymnasium, which was part of the new program. Then thereafter, in 2011, PBC, along with CPS, put a 2011 edition, which is the Annex 1 that is to the south of the existing school, for additional programming, classrooms, and other specialty learning to the school. Then in 2017, south of that annex, work was done for turf field that encompasses basically the southern portion of the site, of which our scope will not go into that zone, nor are we doing much work in the existing 2011 annex that is to the south. Our focus, of course, is the new proposed Annex 2 on the north end of the building, which this rendering from Kilpatrick on the top is showing. So you're seeing the existing main building in 1929. There is 1 bay extending that is part of the 1954 addition. And then part of the scope will be demolishing the existing gymnasium done in 1954 in order for us to build the new annex that you see here on the right. It is facing Kilpatrick. There are some salvage components like the stone Sauganash Public School sign coming from the existing gymnasium that's getting relocated here. What you're seeing is a design that's sympathetic to what was done in 2011. Some of the same motifs in terms of brise-soleil, the windows are proportions, the gymnasium, of course, that is here, and the curtain wall are all from the 2011 edition that was done really as bookends to the project. When you look at on the southeast side here on the corner, you're seeing the new proposed annex that is to the north, the existing main building that is in the center, and then on the southern end is the 2011 edition that was done. And then the field is a little bit below, that is south of that. That's the turf that was done as part of the project. So I'm gonna step out of this for a second and just kind of focus on some highlights. It is as part of the Sauganash Historic District. It was established in 2010. The school, however, is not on the National Register of Historic Places. And considering all of the additions and other changes that have been done. The constituents for this project, of course, has had quite a bit of community involvement. The Principal Christine Munns, is very active with the project and has seen quite a bit of the changes. The 39th Ward Alderman, Samantha Nugent, as well as the Congressman Mike Quigley, have been involved early parts of the project. And there is a Sauganash Community Association that really acts as the LSC for the neighborhood that's been very active. So this is to say that this project is on the radar of everyone, community, stakeholders, and want to make sure that we're providing this wonderful opportunity and increased growth for the school. In terms of the project overall, the team has worked through quite a bit of regulatory and entitlement reviews for the project. So regulatory from MOPD, fire, stormwater, PRA with public restoration agreements, as well as the PRC for the Plan Review Committee. We've gone through all those preliminary reviews, and the project is currently in the permit process through developer services that is being reviewed for compliance for the actual permit itself. Our plan is to deliver the permit before December 18th, which will be the authorization based on the milestones, which will be talked about later and was talked about a little bit earlier in procurement as well. We have entitlements related to the site. We are waiting for a ZBA hearing specific to two things that it's going for. One is the setback on Kilpatrick, which is the Annex addition that faces that street. And then the other is the FAR. Adding this annex has increased the FAR for the site, and the ZBA hearing will handle the approval of both the setback and the FAR for the project. Other due diligence work, we've done an environmental phase 1 completed. We are aware of a UST that is on the site. It has been cleaned, but part of the scope is to remove now the UST from what it was prior, which was decommissioned and abandoned in place. All of the site soils for the project will be hauled off to Subtitle D disposal, and that is all within our project scope as well as the public right-of-way. The phase 2 really is a short amount of work in order to confirm the pH and levels for the soil, and that's been completed. And those reports are part of the project documents that you currently have that you're bidding on. Abatement, we have a report for ACM, lead-based paint, and hazmat for the existing school for all of the work that is being done. The architect will talk about the scope in the basement related to mechanical upgrades, the sort of coordination internally for the first and second floor of the building. And then there is the chiller that is on top of the roof, and that is the roof renovation scope that is impacting the existing school for the chiller and structural framework for that scope of work. Other things that's been done, traffic report exists for the site, geotechnical report that has basically given us the impetus to have a deep foundation system for caissons. Again, our team will talk about that. Stormwater system, we have a stormwater tank in order to handle as one of the BPIs for the site to handle sustainability and lead. And then the scope, of course, has been coordinated with the utilities for ComEd, new service in relationship to feeding the existing, People's Gas for the new line that's coming off Lamont Avenue to the project, AT&T from its existing location rerouted to service now the new Annex, and then of course Comcast and any other sort of minor utilities. So we've gone through and coordinated those with those vendors. Obviously, it extends to yourselves as GCs to finalize, identify, the final scope of work with those vendors in order to move forward. The critical timelines related to utilities will be talked about in the phasing plan, so we understand what the scheduling of that is in relationship to the rest of the work. I think with that, I'm going to stop there. I think the majority of the information here and understanding what the scope for both for new proposed and then the impact of the existing school are in the documents. We have the plan schedule in order to handle the limits of construction, which is encompassing the existing parking lot to the west, the location of where the gymnasium in the north will be demolished, up to Hiawatha, and that is the street that faces north that runs east-west, and then a portion up to the front of the building in Kilpatrick that will be the extent of the annex abutting within the setback on Kilpatrick and the sidewalk, which you see here in the elevation. So the construction limits are fairly clear in the documents. Coordination of that with the school has already been done to understand the impacts and restrictions for them as they go through the process. The phasing plan, again, will talk about the scheduling related to work inside the school building that will happen as summer critical work in order to not disrupt while school is in session. And then the remainder of the work on the annex, of course, goes on for the entire year until it's delivered for substantial completion. So I think I'm going to finish there and allow Aram from RADA Architects as the AOR team to start going through the technical review portion of all of the disciplines for the project. So Aram, I'm going to stop sharing, and then it is now in your court.
Okay, good morning. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here.
While he's doing that, make sure if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will try to answer them as we move forward.
Okay, can you see my screen and are you seeing the issue for bid documents?
No, we're just seeing your desktop.
Okay.
Lori, it's Ray. If I may, while Aram's trying to pull up the information, as we told everybody during the sneak peek, CPS and PBC have put a lot of thought into coordination of the work and sequencing of the work in terms of planned activities and timeframes to start and finish. As Patty alluded to in her portion of the presentation, as is listed in the instruction to the bidders in Book 1, those time of completion requirements were well thought through and coordinated between CPS and PBC. So please pay attention to those no sooner than start dates and the completion dates that Jeff is going to review when the phasing plan is put up on the screen. So Aram, thank you. I see that you have the documents on the screen now. The intent here, Aram, is to review the highlight the unique features and critical components of the project in lieu of going through every single sheet that's listed in the issue for bid, okay?
Sure. And I can start with the phasing plans unless you want me to do the technical review and do the phasing after.
Why don't you get started with the technical review and let's highlight the site plan, floor plans, elevations, and then have your consultants provide an update on the critical MEP features that are listed in the project.
Sounds good. So,
Aram, can you also make it a full view so it's your screen?
I think this is as big as this gets so that you can see the whole sheet.
It's not the full sheet, but go ahead. I don't want to keep holding this up.
Okay, we'll start with the site and the civil review. Andy with RME should be on, and I'll turn the site over to Andy.
Yeah, if you just want to go to the next sheet, or the C200, there we go. All right, so special things about this site, there's two of them I want to highlight. One is the parking, the area in the parking lot. What we need to do is remove the existing pavers and landscape islands that are currently there. Remove the stone from the detention underneath. This is to allow the relocated electrical feeds and communications feeds to be installed underneath this area. And then I'll show a detail here in a minute of what that will look like. So these feeds will go underneath the storage stone, and then after they're installed, we'll rebuild that part of the stone storage for the detention and the pavers on top with the layout that you see here. The second part is, and I think landscape will probably go into a little more detail, but the area just to the north of the school is being called the Pollinator Garden. There's also detention storage underneath this area. So I think landscape will go over the surface features. I'll show a detail in just a minute of just exactly how those features work with the detention underneath. I think site-wise, I think that's all I had at this time. If you want to go to the next sheet, or the C300 sheet, over there. So if you go up to the parking lot area, you can see the utilities that I was just talking about. So these will be installed underneath that stone area. And again, I'll have it show detail on the next sheet. That just kind of shows exactly what we're thinking on that. If we go down to the south, this is a unique stormwater system, as in the underground detention vault is going to be underneath the building footprint. So I think structural might note some different things in plumbing as well. But the storm trap vault, or the detention vault, is shown underneath the building footprint. That is correct. So I know there might be some questions on that. And I think that's it for these utilities. If you go to C600 or 601, there you go. All right, so the detail on the left, this is the Pollinator Garden detail. So you can see there's pavers, landscape up above, and then wherever there is pavers, we've got a stone column that goes down into the stone storage area below. And then there'll be a perforated PVC under drain to take any of that water. And then if we go to the detail on the right, so the area to the left of the dark center line, that is going to be our area that we're going to be disturbing. As you can see, we've got our 2 utility trenches underneath the stone area. Anything to the right of that dashed center line, or the dark center line, that is existing to remain as is. And we are not touching that. So I think those are the special items that I had for civil.
Okay, TGDA is the landscape architect and can review the landscape highlights for the project.
Hi, this is Ben with TGDA Landscape Architecture. So for the protection and removals, we are showing a number of tree removals with the X, and then if the tree isn't to be removed, it's to be protected. And we're showing landscape protection fence at the critical areas where trees need to be protected in their root zones. And then one thing to note on that plan is the salvage of the boulders in the current bioswale at the parking lot and the stainless steel rail that protects that planting. Those things will be reused in the project, as well as a few bike racks at the other end of the building. So the boulders will just need to be tagged and set aside for the build out of the landscape. And then for the next sheet, the plan sheet, kind of as Andy was saying, the feature here is the Pollinator Garden, which consists of permeable pavers, landscaping, trees, perennials, shrubs, the salvaged boulders, a couple of benches, and a dry erase and chalkboard, kind of outdoor classroom. Then it's surrounded by fencing and with a couple of openings, and there'll be 2 gates, one entering the property and then one entering the Pollinator Garden. So other items on this plan are tree and shrub and feature perennial gardens. And adding in ordinance trees. Up here in the left-hand corner, we are showing this eco plaza. We will need to add some soil to the parking lot planter, the bottom end of that planter, and then replant that entire planter. And then below that, along the building, there's a new planter with a 6-inch curb with a few trees, perennials, and shrubs. And I think that pretty much can wrap up the site plan. And then we have detail of the perennial layout, the soil plan, and then the dimension plan for the perennial garden. The soil plan kind of shows the depths of planting soil needed per bed. And the planting plan kind of shows an extensive perennial layout. We intend to be on site for perennial layout. And then the dimension plan for the Pollinator Garden also shows where the salvage boulders will be placed. And that's all on the other side of the sheet, sorry. And we intend to be on site to assist with placing those boulders as well. And that's it for that sheet. Then we just have the standard details. We are salvaging material, and those details are shown, as well as new items, including the chalkboard, dry erase board detail, depths for soil, and general boulder layout detail. So we are, we are salvaging some signs, and that will need footings, and at the top of the page, we have this salvage stainless steel planting protection rail that will need to be reinstalled. We don't intend for welding the corners of it, but whenever it takes a turn, it needs to terminate into the ground, as that detail shows.
Okay, thanks, Ben. I think that gets us through the landscape. Craig at DZSE is going to take us through the highlights of the structural. Craig, are you with us?
Is someone else able to cover Craig's portion?
Is DZSE on?
Yeah, Carrie Warner here from DZSE also. I'm checking with Craig. I think he just lost connection, so I can start into this if he comes back on. We'll have him continue. So so there's the new structure that you'll see in some work on the existing building. So the new structure has a partial basement. You wanted to get to the structural drawing, and you'll see that there's a thicker slab on grade at base because of the high water table. The basement is pulled back from the existing foundations because of geotechnical requirements from remaining with the basement and superstructure back from the existing wall. So the caissons are pulled back and the basement walls are pulled back. There's some thick cantilever walls that you'll see in the structure that support column loads and also help support the basement. The caissons are pulled back, but there is an the addendum is going to have an add alternate to include allowance for permanent casings pending OUC review, just until we get through that for confirmation. That's all for means and methods concerns that are not required for structural design. The detention vault that was mentioned by Civil is just held within the structure, but it's been confirmed by Civil that slab on grade can go on top. So next page. Over the basement, we have a reinforced concrete structure, and then the remainder of slab on grade is structure. And then up from this, we spring with a conventional steel structure with columns and select bracing and moment frames for the lateral system. There's a joint between the two buildings. They are independent structurally, the new and the old. The new structure has composite floors, standard construction in the upper levels. All the steel structural connections are delegated. Loads are provided. Unless a detail is completely detailed, it should be considered delegated and the responsibility of the steel fabricator and their connection engineer. There's select steel detailing for the exterior wall, supporting the brick, primarily at level 3. There's a datum. You'll see that the brick stacks below, and there's a hanging detail with HSS that hangs from the level 3 structure with offset angles, and the HSS provides the lateral and support for the lower lintel. And there's select steel detailing you'll see for exterior wall conditions around. And then the roof has steel joists over the gymnasium. Let's see.
We have a question in the chat. The comment back is shown on C700 as completed by others. However, C300 is shown within the contract. Can you please clarify?
I think that might be a question back to Civil. I could pause.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. The comment duct back is shown on C700 as completed by others. However, C300 is shown as within the contract. Can you please clarify?
It is within the contract. C700 will. I did not get that line of text updated.
Okay, Patty, let's make sure we add that to our RFI so we can clarify as well. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. This is Carrie at DZSE. Should I pick back up?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the remainder of the work at there's some other nuances that you'll see in the drawings. There's at the gymnasium, there's some thickened slabs over that storm trap, but as the structure of the storm trap itself supports the slab on grade structure of the gym. And the existing buildings, you'll see there's several new lintels, and there's a chiller up on the roof that has a steel structure and a screen that has provided detailing to sit primarily on the edge parapet walls and the interior columns, so that most of the structure is supported column to column. So that's a general overview of the structure and the highlights.
Yeah, here's.
Hi, Carrie.
Go ahead,
Greg
Craig.
with DZSE. Hey, sorry, I was muted and I couldn't get through. I think Carrie did a great job of covering for me. Carrie, if you want to keep going, be my guest, or I can take over if you'd like.
I think we got it all, Craig. I think we went over the list that you had already compiled with everything. So someone can put in the chat if there's any questions.
Took me some time to figure it out.
Okay, I think I'll just say it would be good to really pay attention to the chiller support. We have a chiller that's being supported off of the load-bearing walls and specific structural connections at the 1950s era building. So we have very specific details that should be reviewed carefully by the contractors. And the chiller also has a screen wall around it to shield the visual impact to the neighborhood. And that has its own framing system as well. We do have, in the 1950s building, we have a classroom that is being created out of a area that was a small office. So we are actually extending an opening in order to get the new opening large enough for a typical window bay from the 1950s design. And that will require a new lintel to span on the load-bearing areas of the building there. So that should be reviewed carefully by the team as well. Okay, so we're into the architectural review. Andy did a good job to review the site conditions. I'll just say the existing gymnasium, is roughly half the size of the new annex, or even less in footprint. So the new annex is going to take up a large area of the site, and so the site is not a huge area for staging materials and so forth. So it should just be looked at from the contractor's point of view on that aspect. We have a exterior ramp that will be demolished as a part of the first phase, which is the utility relocation. And there is a small vestibule area of the 1950s building that will be demolished along when the gym is demolished as well. The underground storage tank is shown roughly in its location, and you can see where our existing masonry trash enclosure is that also includes the transformer enclosure. And all of this is going to play a big role in the utility relocation milestone that is at the end of December. And Andy touched on the fact that we're demolishing a portion of the parking lot in order to facilitate that work of the utility relocation. And the intent there is to remove the minimal amount of the parking lot as possible in order to get the utilities relocated so that we can keep the power and gas and communications of the main building operational while we're doing the new annex. So the complexity with that is there is a transformer currently that is feeding the main building of the school right here. This transformer needs to be gone before we can demolish the gym. And in order to do that, we need to relocate the transformer, put a new transformer in a new location. The new site plan, I think, has been discussed, but you can see here where the two transformers are going to live after we're done with the first milestone. Demolition, this plan will show the existing vestibule that exists on the main level of the first of the 1950s era school that is going to be removed, and this existing area, which is a small office or classroom that is going to be expanded to create a new kind of typical CPS classroom. So the highlights of the lower level plan, this is a little unique as this project does have a basement, a partial basement. We have an elevator, but the elevator does not come down to the basement. That does stop. So the elevator pit is actually higher than the basement elevation. The basement has the electrical room, fire pump room, mechanical spaces. The stormwater detention vault that Andy touched on is within the footprint of the building, and we have unexcavated areas or slab on grade areas around. The other main component here is we are backfeeding the main building air handling unit with utilities from the new building. So Ben will touch on it more in the MEP side of things, but we do have pipes and infrastructure coming from the main building. I'm sorry, from the new annex through a crawl space into the mechanical and basement area of the existing 1920s building to a refurbished air handling unit. So this is twofold from a mechanical point of view. The first floor is a little unique in the sense that we have large air handling units in a big mechanical room on the first floor. There's no large equipment on the annex roof, the new annex roof, as the height of the building was a concern for the community. So the first floor occupies a large mechanical room. The pre-Ks are very typical with the CPS kind of standard new pre-K design, gang restrooms as well. We have a gymnatorium that is both functions as a gym and an auditorium with a stage, with a divider curtain and 6 basketball court or backstops. There is a telescoping bleachers as well. So the main thing on this first floor is this 4-hour link that connects our 1920s to 1950s to Annex 2 area. So this 1950s to Annex 2 link is to be looked at in detail. It is 4-hour rated, and the 4-hour rating does extend past, structurally does extend past this footprint of the link. It incorporates all of the structure that is supporting that area. So it's important to look at the fireproofing plan, which I'll touch on. This is that renovated classroom where we're turning a small office or small classroom into a large classroom. And this is where that vestibule used to be, where the new window bay is now going to be occupied. The second floor of the building has a lot of the typical functions that you see in a lot of the new annexes. It's just typical types of classrooms, art rooms with a kiln and storage infrastructure for that room, gang restrooms. The second floor does line up with the second floor of the main school. So we have, again, a 4-hour link that connects the two. And the third floor, again, is more of the typical classroom arrangements, typical classrooms. There's a music room with a music storage component next to it. We have a maker space and a science lab. So those have some unique mechanical requirements for exhausting and electrical requirements for powering different desks and so forth. Otherwise, we have 2 exit stairs, gang restroom, elevator, storage, and offices. So it looks pretty straightforward. This is a sheet that we created that is a fireproofing plan. So basically, it's important for the contractors to review this in detail. This does get into how the 4-hour rating extends further than just the little link area to incorporate the structure and connections that would support all of that. There was a small change in the addendum that will come out that will show the ratings in the gymnatorium have to be 2-hour rated, not 1-hour rated. And that was picked up, that will be picked up in the forthcoming addendum. So the gymnatorium has a special rating. The roof plan really gets into how this chiller is going to work on top of the 1950s era building. So it essentially is bearing on the load bearing wall at both the south wall here and the north wall. And then it also comes down to the roof in a few locations to connect to structure below. So there'll be roof patching and structural connections to the structure of the 1950s building below it. The roof of the rest of the roof of the Annex 2 is pretty straightforward and what you would typically see on a roof of this building. Ceiling plans are pretty straightforward in terms of what you would typically see in a CPS project. Important items to note on the elevations. We are salvaging this sign from the existing gymnasium that's being demolished. We do have curtain walls on this project, which is different than many CPS projects. So the curtain wall is in basically the same language as the 2010 Annex 1 project. So we do have curtain wall detailing and sunshades that are integrated into the window systems that again mimic Annex 1. The chiller and the chiller screen are should be reviewed in detail as well. This sheet on 213, I just want to touch on the fact that we have one new window bay from the 1950s era building that we need to recreate. So those windows are going to be double hungs with a fixed over awning. The awning gives the accessible window. The double hungs is what matches the 1950s and 1920s era building. And we do have panels that are above that in order to match what the existing building looks like. So there's one unique condition here where we're trying to match the existing building. The rest of the windows are obviously they're new construction and have their own language. So you'll have to review this in detail to see how we're creating blocking and so forth in order to mimic those window divisions that currently exist that on a window opening that doesn't currently exist. I'm not going to go through all the wall sections. There's lots of different components and so forth, but again, just keep in mind we have a curtain wall system that maybe is not used to seeing on a lot of the Annex projects. Our typical windows are an awning with an operable awning window and then fixed windows. The operable windows are need to meet the ADA requirements. And I want to touch on this is the sunshade that is mimicking the Annex 1 sunshade. And I do want to touch on this detail. This is our very typical base detail for the building. So we have exterior insulation that is coming up to the top of the first floor slab and is being protected by a stainless steel cap. And this is all for energy code requirements. So this may be something that you're not used to seeing on the buildings, but this is kind of a new requirement that's that we're working through. On the parapet detail, we do have a limestone cap and we have a metal coping, pre-engineered or pre-manufactured pre-engineered metal coping around it. And I'll touch on the chiller support again and this connection between the 1950s building and the new annex. We have a firewall with CMU. We have the existing parapet wall of the 1950s building with a chiller support steel, that grillage that is coming down on it. And this is all an expansion joint between the two buildings and how that's created. So this is where it gets maybe the most complicated in terms of detailing. So these are kind of important to review. The the 500 series is going to show the enlarged plans of all of the classrooms and support spaces for the buildings. And this is things that you'll be kind of used to seeing in bidding on Annex projects. I will touch on the Gymnatorium quickly. There's a stage with a stage lift, telescoping bleachers. We have some storage spaces, but we also have this connection here. This is how you access the stormwater detention vault. So there is a lid here that would be like a manhole. It is a manhole cover that would be removable so that one can get down into the stormwater tank if needed. The stair detailing, we are matching the stair details of the 2010 Annex. So the railings and the way that the stair is set back from the curtain wall, all is with the intent to match that building. So it's a little bit unique on this project. And the elevator, as I mentioned, does not go to the basement. You can see the basement level and you can see where the pit stops. So that's all been drawn. There are theater drawings to be aware of, rigging systems to support all of the stage curtains and so forth in the and lighting within the stage area itself. And there's lighting in the Gymnatorium side for theatrical lighting that's specified. All of that's in the specifications for what that lighting is. And that gets us kind of through the architectural side. So I'll turn this over to Ben to go over the MEP side. Ben, just let me know what sheets you want to.
Yeah, sure thing. You got it. I've got a couple team members who will join me and help out here, but I think we can advance into the underground drawings. So the building has a drain tile system for the addition. And if you advance forward, we have 10-inch storm sewer and 6-inch building sewer. If you can advance the slide or the sheet around. Yeah, so here we see the sewers proceeding out of the northeast, the new combined 8-inch domestic water and fire protection service, sump pumps and sewage ejectors. And you can advance to the first floor, where you'll see separation between domestic water and fire protection, 500 GPM fire pump, which we'll get to later. And water proceeding to domestic hot water heaters and bathroom fixture groups. We can move up the building. There's not a lot of distributed plumbing fixtures for specialty uses. There are a few unique classroom areas. The art room, sinks with traps. On the third level, we do have the maker space with some unique requirements. This is a newer type of classroom, so do see that, as well as the science classroom. I think we can advance fire protection maybe next. Enlarged plans in the 300 series, everything's pretty well detailed and straightforward here. Not much to say about the drain tile system. It's pretty straightforward. There are some structural complications, or I should say complications, but unique conditions at the separation between the existing building and the new. Mechanical is a new system of an air-cooled chiller we've talked a lot about already, and hot water boilers. That's both for the new annex and for a portion of the original building. I'd like Syed to walk us through the mechanical drawings and point out some of the unique design details for the project, please.
Yeah, this is Syed Ahmad. So, yeah, this is the plan where we are showing the demolition of the existing mechanical system. Basically, the existing building is served by 2 boilers and an existing air handler. Those 2 boilers are coming out, including all the steam piping and condensate piping related to those 2 boilers. And we are also upgrading the existing air handler, which is shown in big shaded box. That basically is an older version of the fan system, and we are replacing with a state-of-the-art new fan array system. And also, this existing building is heated only, so we are adding a cooling and heating coil to that air handler as well. Once the boilers are removed, what we are doing is we are sizing the new boilers, which will be located in the new building, and will backfeed the existing building. And we'll show you in the following slides the scope of work in more detail. Also, in the existing building, since we are upgrading the fan system, we are also asking you guys to balance each classrooms. We are not changing anything in the classroom. We are just asking for you to balance the existing classroom so that they meet the code. Next slide, please. Yeah, so there are first and second floor. In the attic area, as part of the upgrade of the existing fan system, we are also adding a return fan in the attic, and that will be connected to that fan system, which is located in the basement. So this is what we are showing here. This is the new sheets. So basically, at the bottom, we are showing the new upgraded fan system in the existing building. And we have developed some sections, elevation to describe the scope a little bit, because this is an existing building. It's kind of a congested area. We need to make sure that that you look at this existing fan system and understand exactly what is involved and what we are trying to show here. But basically, we are upgrading the existing fan system, where we are adding a new fan, new coils and controls for the existing fan system. And then, like I said before, we are going to be backfeeding the existing air handling unit from the new Annex building. Next. So the boilers are, I'm sorry, if you can back up. So the new boilers that we are putting in is going to be going in the basement area here. There are 2 high efficiency condensing boilers. There are sized not only for the Annex, but also for the existing building. And basically we are showing all the pumps and related accessories here in the basement area. Next sheet, please. So next, like Aram said, this is a big mechanical room where we'll be putting 2 new air handler. One air handler to the right will serve the gymnasium, and the one on the left, the larger air handler unit, is going to be taking care of this 3-story academic wing, Annex 2. This is basically a VAV system with hot water reheat, and we'll be using boiler for reheat and heating purposes. The building will be getting cooling from chiller. Aram and Ben both described where the chiller is located, and we'll be routing piping from the chiller down into the chase to feed these air handler and also the air handler in the existing building. So the classroom layout is pretty similar. It's pretty straightforward, like we do all the CPA schools. Each classroom will get 1 VAV box with supply diffusers. It will have its own thermostat to control the zones. So each classroom basically becomes an independent zone. So this is what we are showing here, which is pretty straightforward. And gymnasium obviously will have also will be served by a few VAV boxes from that 1 air handling unit, like I described before. and the boxes are located in the hallway of this second floor for better service and accessibility. This is the third floor space. You can see all similar to the first and second floor. Third floor also being served the same way. Each classroom has its own zone, and now you can see chiller on the existing roof, shown as a big long rectangular box there. This is a roof plan, basically showing all the exhaust fan and flues and condensing unit for the IDF or MDF rooms. This is the fan that I was talking about before. New fan is being added in the existing attic building as part of the upgrade of the fan system.
Yeah, so let me talk about the attic a little bit, Syed. So the existing attic is being upgraded to a ducted return system, and there will be work that will have to be done in above the ceiling. So on the architectural drawings, we've noted that the contractor needs to provide shoring to facilitate the work above, to shore the existing plaster and metal framing system to support the work happening on the corridor side of the main building above. And we've asked that the ceiling be completely repainted after construction above is complete, and we'll have some areas of square footage to allow for plaster patching and restoration. But it's important for the contractors to understand that they need to facilitate this work in the attic. And it is a lath and plaster with a metal framing system from the 1920s and 1950s that is there. There is quite a bit of headroom, I would say, in the interstitial space between the attic and the structure above, like most of those schools from that era do have. And the above the structure of the existing building is a clay tile roof deck. So the roof structure is clay tile. So those hangers and so forth are that's supporting the ceiling are coming down in specific spots based on that roof structure above.
Okay, and this is so far you have seen the duct plans. These are a few sheets will show you the piping plan, basically showing the same thing, but these drawings will show the piping layout. So basically here we are showing, as you can see, the piping that backfitting the existing fan system that is being upgraded through the crawl space. So there are a lot of stuff in the crawl space, existing ductwork, existing piping. But this is the best route we could find to route the piping from new annex to the existing building. So chill water and hot water and gas piping will be served. There's a new gas meter going outside here. And then we are going to drop piping in this existing closet, and we are going to feed the new boilers and also the existing water heater. There's an existing water heater in the existing original building, and that gas will also feed that. There's nothing else that requires gas in the existing building. Next sheet, please. Again, the first floor, this is the piping showing the layout from riser into the air handlers, feeding the 2 air handlers and all the VAV boxes in this portion of the building. Here, there is no chill water, it's just hot water piping that is being routed to feed the VAV boxes and some of the heaters, especially in the vestibules and stuff like that. Now here you can see the chiller on the roof of existing building and piping from chiller going into the new annex and dropping down to the pumps and also to the other air handling units. This is basically blow up of the mechanical room, showing the air handlers and how the ductwork is routed, and piping is routed from this from the mechanical room to the other parts of the building. I guess I'm done. Sorry. So yeah, this is a more detailed elevation section. Here on the upper left and right side, we have a 3D showing the mechanical room, all the ductwork, how it's routed, and where everything is going to. And just to clarify the scope a little bit better. These are the riser diagrams showing the piping layout and riser, and more detail. So these are the control sheets. Basically, this will be a brand, existing building has a existing original building, and existing annex number 1 had Johnson Control. So we have received approval to single source for controls for the new annex as well. So this will be Johnson Control. They'll be providing controls to control the HVAC for this building. So these are the control sheets set up that way. So just take a look at those, pay attention to those details. And that's it for mechanical.
Thanks, Syed. On the electrical sheets, we'll address power, lighting, and also information, communication technology, security. Sydney and Sherman are both with us, and as we get to their sheets, they can jump in. I'd like to start with the site plan. Aram had hit on a couple of the important early elements of this project. We have a new, I want to say 2,500 amp service, but also the removal of this transformer, and then our 2 new transformers, which will be on, I guess that's the west-northwest side of the existing building. And Sydney or Sherman, is there anything else you want to say about the site plan?
At the location of the existing 480 volt 277 transformer, that is being replaced. So that is the existing. So this existing 480 277 volt transformer serving Annex 1 is planning to be replaced with a new feed-through type transformer, and will refeed Annex 1. And if we can go to the next, the Newark site plan, and then it will feed the new 208 120 volt transformer that will be refeeding the existing building and the new annex.
Thanks, Sydney. So this plan also has new data connections addressed on it. You'll see some security cameras located on the plan as well. I think from there we can advance into the building sheets. So this is a power plan for equipment. Sydney, we have some limited work in the existing building. Could you tell us about that in relation? I think we just skipped past those sheets. There we go.
Yes, if we could go back to the demo, the basement demo plan. Currently, the emergency lighting in the existing building is being fed from a second service from ComEd. We will be removing that second service and replacing the emergency lighting with emergency battery packs within the existing building. And because of that, we are removing some of the infrastructure, including the existing ComEd meter and disconnects and ATS.
Fantastic. If we move forward into some of the new worksheets, I think some important areas to highlight, Sydney, is the Gymnatorium in the new work. Stop me if I'm skipping anything you wanted to talk about more. But there's very important coordination within this area. Aram has elevations on his sheets, not only for the Gymnatorium, but also for classrooms which have special outlet requirements, whether it be the pre-K and coordination with the casework. Sydney or Sherman, am I missing anything important on this sheet?
We're good to continue.
So in a lot of these classrooms, whether it be a teaching wall or a feature wall, the data and power requirements on the drawings, this is diagrammatic only. So that's why I stress you really have to reference the elevations as well. That kind of coordination becomes very important, whether it be entry coordination also with mechanical for thermostat locations and other wall mounted devices to get a nice clean installation. The maker space is an important one, again, unique. Sydney, can you tell us about some of the equipment connection requirements here?
Yes, in the makerspace, we have our typical teaching wall, but in addition to that, we will have cord reels at all of the workstations, as well as power connections for 3D printers and laser cutters and robotic arms.
Yeah, to add,
Similarly,
we're actually putting infrastructure in the storage room for the 3D printers so that they can operate independently of being in the classrooms. That was a request, so that this maker space is a little bit unique. It's kind of a hybrid between a physical and a digital maker space. So we're trying to make this space as flexible as possible. So you may see exhausts in the storage room that you might not normally see. And that's related to 3D printers that may be moved in and out of these spaces.
Sure. I think we can advance on from these sheets, just a power roof plan. And if we keep moving forward, I don't think we need to pause very long on the lighting sheets. There's all very
lighting
strict
protection here. So we do have lighting protection.
That's the kitchen work I think we're showing here, right, Sydney?
yes, this is the additional equipment that will be provided in the existing kitchen within Annex 1.
And some panel work, relocation of the panel. I think on lighting, I just point out that these plans are designed around standard fixtures. We have CPS lighting standards we're trying to hit here. So in the RCP coordination is very important in phasing and coordinating that work with sprinklers and everything else that's happening with those ceilings. So a reminder around, we haven't really talked much about the lead requirements of this project, but we're also targeting lighting efficiency levels there and control of these systems. So I think go ahead.
I just say, please be please be aware that when you see addendums that come out, if light fixtures are changing, that you pick up these revisions, as there have been some late changes to some of the light fixtures in the corridor, specifically some pendant fixtures that were in here that are being changed. So just pay attention to the addendums in detail when it comes to anything related to fixture types.
And we can skip past the lighting, I believe. We have this MDF room down there in the corner. Yep, so we have details there for the requirements for technology and infrastructure, lattice tray system layout. These should all be very straightforward. I'd like to advance, I think, to the riser diagram, maybe, Sydney, and some of the things you pointed out about the unique service rework are clear from that riser diagram. So this is a little bit of a repetition, but it doesn't hurt because it's a unique and phased approach. Can you just sort of walk us through that one more time?
Yes, so again, like I said, we are providing a new 480-277 feed through transformer that will be feeding Annex 1 as well as the fire pump in Annex 1. And that will feed through to the new 208 120 volt ComEd transformer. And then that will feed both the existing main building and the new annex. We have a 1200 amp exterior disconnect switch, service disconnect switch that will then feed the main switchboard in the existing building. And as mentioned, we also are showing calling for the removal of the existing emergency lighting service in the basement of the main building. Distribution in the new annex, we have a isolation transformer, which is feeding the computer panel, distribution panel, which will then feed all of the computer receptacles throughout each floor, as well as receptacle panels, lighting panels on each floor, and mechanical.
Yeah, then maybe the next place to stop would be the fire alarm diagram. I think that's a couple sheets ahead here on E420.
So the fire alarm, we are calling for an upgrade to the existing fire alarm panel located in the existing main building. We will then feed all of the new devices in the existing, in the new Annex 2 from this panel.
That's important to in your bids, note that location and the conduit runs from the existing to the new. I think that pretty well covers it. We're really into details now at this point, particularly technology details. I don't think there's anything critical on these to cover. So on the technology, I think Sherman had to drop off, but I would note there is, again, some interface between the existing buildings and the new. Pay careful attention to that for conduit pathways and work within the existing building.
Yeah, so the IDF room for Annex 2 is on the second floor. And the idea here is we are connecting the IDF room to an MDF room in Annex 1. So there's conduit that is going to be running in the attic space where we're doing the work for the new ducted returns. That conduit will be run in the attic, and it'll run all the way through the existing main building, and then it will pick up to the Annex 1 MDF room. So there is information in the drawings on that. But there's quite a bit of conduit runs to make that work. And then we also have to take a conduit to the existing office where where some of the, I think it's the door intercom system and
right.
Other systems. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we are providing infrastructure for future PV arrays, so it's really just empty conduit, as far as I understand it, coming from the panels. But there is considerations for what might be built in the future for PVs on the roof, which are currently not at all a part of the project, but just the conduit is. Okay, I think that gets us through the technical reviews with the different disciplines.
We had fire protection around. I don't know. There's not a lot to say here. We could go just to the riser diagram. It's very straightforward. So we have a combined 8-inch water service. If you pan to the left here, And then it splits to the 6-inch fire and the 3-inch domestic. It's 500 GPM fire pump. We have 4 zones, 1 on each floor with the tamper and flow switch. It's a wet pipe sprinkler system, 2 fire department connections, and 1 fire pump test header connection. Otherwise, this is all just very straightforward wet pipe system. Again, the coordination of the RCP is important here for the fire protection contractor to coordinate with the rest of the team. That's all I had to say on the fire protection.
Okay. Yeah, as Ben mentioned, this is a lead project. We're targeting lead silver, and there's a lot of information in the specifications, and there's a lead scorecard that shows the design team's attempt to understand anticipated points. So please be aware.
Okay, thank you. PBC team, are we going to review the phasing plan? Or are
Yes,
there
if
any other
we may.
comments? Mhm.
Yes, Lori, if we may review the phasing plan quickly. Jeff Strauss, our senior PM, will briefly go through that.
Yes, so Ron, can you put up page G107, please?
Oh yeah, let me get that back.
So for this project, we have 2 milestones, milestone 1, milestone 2, and a substantial completion. As Ron was pulling up G107, we will go over this very briefly. Keep in mind, this is an extremely important document. Please pay attention to everything on this page because time is of the essence. The site utility relocation is going to be from December 18th, must be done by January 2nd. I'm going to repeat that. All work for site utility relocation must be done by January 2nd, 2022. We need to do the utility relocations prior to demolishing the gymnasium. We've worked closely with ComEd, Peoples Gas, and AT&T. We've had all 3 utilities out on site. We have the locations, we have the routes, we have the SELs in place, but please keep in mind, milestone 1 is reconnection of all utilities, which must be done by January 2nd, 2022. Above that, we have milestone 2, which is the portion of the building interior renovations, mechanical system upgrades, and associated work must be done by August 5th of 2022. The reason is August 5th of 2022 is we're going to have children back in this building and teachers back in this building for the next school year. We have to get all that summer critical work done. So please keep that in mind of the durations and timeframes for milestone 1 and milestone 2. Substantial completion will be the bottom left on this. Substantial completion is all work throughout the project. That is the exterior renovations, that is the new building itself, that is the interior remodeling. We have a substantial completion of November 30th of 2022. As you are looking at this and working through your subcontractors and your plans, please keep in mind of these dates. These are hard dates and they will not be missed. There's additional information on the phasing plan of what is required for all of the certifications and letters to get the permit. Please keep that in mind. Once notice of award or notice of award goes out, these are all pieces of information that must be submitted within 2 weeks of the notice of award. Very, very clear on here. That is going to help affect the duration and time for the building permit. That concludes my portion of this, but please keep in mind, this is an extremely important page. Look at this in detail and understand the dates. These dates cannot and will not be missed.
Okay. Is there anything else from development?
No, Lori, thank you very much.
Okay, are there any questions? I think I captured the one in the chat. Are there any questions from any of our pre-qualified GCs or subcontractors or potential joint venture partners? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining our pre-bid. Please be on the lookout for addendums that are forthcoming. We will add the question that was posed earlier to make sure there's clarification given as well. And we look forward to receiving your bid. Please make sure you continue to check our PBC alerts as well. Thank you so much.
As a just aside with the PBC alerts, if you have, it might be a good opportunity for any team members, if you've recently changed a company, just to ensure that you have your correct email address on the alerts. That's how we communicate our information, so that we can ensure that information's getting through.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you. Have a good day.